anyone has any comments, observations, or sharings, or something that puzzling there. Very, a lot of things that we hear and come about, and when you're on your own you might have questions that come up, or how to apply in daily life kind of thing.
Especially like for oneself, how we practice, it's very practical, but it's really very challenging, especially, when you are living with one's spouse. It's so nice, to say that, how am I faring in my practice? Am I becoming kinder, more considerate? Am I making it easier for others to live with me? Because I think, I really don't know, the phrase, familiarity kind of breeds contempt. You get upset very easily over small things, and one wonders with all the years of practice, where have you been leading? You know what I mean? Yeah, that kind of thing. We really have to really look very deeply into ourselves. Like our partner has been with us for many years. How many more years do we still have to really go through? Why don't we live it out peacefully, lovingly? But it's very difficult to do that kind of self-reflection, because the mind is so conditioned. You say the wrong thing, snap, and things like that. So Bhante can add further as to how one can really overcome that. That would be very nice.
Yeah, as you say, it's very difficult for all people. So that's why it's important that the practice doesn't become an escape or an avoidance, that we look more skillfully. One thing that's also important is more space, is to actually get out quite a lot, mingle with enough people rather than gluing together. The Chief Reverend in Brickfields, I remember him saying, listening to a recording of one of his talks, he was saying that the best relationship is where the wife is blind and the husband is deaf. So, because she can't see his faults and he can't hear her nagging or something like this. Well, someone came in and said, my husband's this, my husband's that, and he gave her a gobstopper, we call these old sweets, said, just put that in when he comes back in from work. Put in that for 1 hour. Don't say anything. No, it's a very serious thing. But so getting out in space and increasing the orbit so you're not over dwelling. I think that people can spend a bit too much time together, and then it's natural. Even like astronauts, they're in a confined space too much. They're getting out and mingling with multiple communities, and also addressing and considering the other people as brother or sister, so that the relationship isn't an arrival. It's not like the end point. It's a bridge to the bigger family. So that's one. There's your brother, and then there's the other brothers. There's other single. So you start to open out more. But then, restraint on criticizing, and it is very important to do that. To be careful of finding. We don't know what we like to live with, and to hear what the kind of things we say, we're often focused on the faults of the other. So we can practice the restraint part of it, and then also that when you do start to get irritated, is to make the aspiration, well, I won't do that in future, rather than trying to control and change the other person, is to focus in. There's an Indian expression, better not to try to cover the world in leather, but just to get a pair of sandals. It's like this idea of not changing the world and others, but transforming oneself. And then it can even be an opportunity, something to be grateful for, even if it's an obstacle, but often meeting rock with rock, but to become like water. And again, the prudence is like, well, I could respond like that, but I could respond like this. And I had a clash with someone when they tried to, I was starving hungry, I'd fasted for a whole day I came here. There was going to be a talk with a senior, and I was quite nervous about it, and I was very hungry, and I'd done Bintabad, I actually hadn't done the Bintabad, I'd seen there were 4 bhikkhus from here, and I thought they're going to get tons of food, I'll just walk back. So I walked all the way back to Bodhi House, and I realised I'm very hungry, I should get some food before the talk, we could be there for 2 hours. And this person was in the kitchen trying to stop me. No, you can't eat that, you can't eat that food. I was like, it's Sangha food, you know. So anyway, it turned into a big hoo-ha, and I ended up just going, I'm going away, never mind, I won't go to attend the talk, I'll just get something by myself. And all from then on, I was only focusing on why they were wrong and how I was going to point out their criticize them, and they were doing the same thing. So I actually did a guided meditation where I visualized the 2 of us coming together instead of coming as 2 people to compete and show who's right and who's wrong, but that we would just visualize us being in harmony and then leaving peacefully. And it worked. Just the fact that I was mentally visualizing it, that actually this is the aim, this is the right aim in this situation, not the competition, you know, the clashing and then punishing or whatever it was previously. So sometimes just visualizing, spending time to do that and saying like, what am I trying to do? What am I trying to aim for? A thing where I compete and I win, or I dominate, or I show who's more powerful, or that's very common, especially in marriages. So just to spend time visualizing that the 2 of you do arrive in a place of peacefulness and come together and leave, rather than always seeing it as this kind of clashing. So that really helped. When I came up here, I told them, I said, should we have a talk? And she said, no, it's no need, everything's fine. So we actually didn't have to have this big talk, which I was kind of dreading. The visualization really helps. So also that can be something is to do. It's just to sort of spend time cultivating positivity about how you picture the relationships. I hope that helps a little bit. It's a very big topic, hard to summarize in quick points. But if all of us can refrain from criticizing and finding fault, that's, you know, certainly at the verbal level, because sometimes there's a lot going on that we don't know about, and then it's not always that we immediately see things from other people's point of view. And that can also make us easier to be around when things don't go as we expect or want it to go.
Yeah, but I think most of us, we do not contemplate on death. Once I think we contemplate on death, we don't see everything, what is happening or what it is, you know.
Mm.
When I am dead and gone, what will you do all these things? Me or what? I think most of us do not contemplate, only say, the I, me and mine is the ego is still there. That's why they do not. I don't know, that's what I feel.
That's a very, very wise and insightful point. Thank you, James. So yeah, the contemplation of death helps us to put things in perspective and see that things that get seen huge at the time, later on, they won't seem significant at all. When you look at all of the graves, they also had quarrels, they also had passing arguments, they were arguing about the noodles, you got the wrong kind of noodles, you know. Now how important is that? Everything comes and goes. Definitely. And that's one of the things that often people can fill their mind up with what seems important to them, rather than seeing things from the bigger perspective, in the bigger scheme. Definitely.
Also, they say when you are nobody, then you are somebody. When you are somebody, then you are nobody.
How do you mean? You'll have to That's a very interesting statement. So they say that when you're a nobody, you're a somebody, and when you're a somebody, you're a nobody.
Yeah.
In what way? It's interesting.
Well, when you want to be somebody,
when you want to be somebody.
and then you are nobody. You are just like an egoistic and just something, blah 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 blah, everything all coming out. When you are nobody, I think you are peaceful and quiet and to oneself. Or then you are somebody. That is how I.
Yeah, there's a trap where you can have a someone who's a very small somebody as well, or even a someone who's super equal, or someone who's super superior. But they're all kind of selves, so you need to be a bit careful about that. You don't have to completely become like a zero, like a cabbage in the corner in that sense. So it is true. There's truth in what you're saying, that humility is better than being trying to be a big show of being a somebody. Yeah. The three kinds of craving. One of them is to crave to be nothing, and one of them is to crave to be a something or a someone, and the other is craving for sensations. So they're all those are cravings. So just to be a little bit careful on the use of it, but there's truth in that for sure. There's Dhamma within that, but we do have to be careful with the application of it. Yeah, I mean, I heard an anecdote of a near-death experience where somebody got hit by lightning. I don't know if I told you about this, but there was somebody who was hit by lightning, and they said their mind went out of the body. And first thing they said was, "Oh, well, I thought I was quite good looking," but there was this face on the floor, it was crumpled up, and that he saw two devas come, and they showed him, they basically said, "Look, the body's still warm. You've got an option. You can carry on. You don't have to die." And they showed him his entire karmic kind of account at that point. And it was not from his point of view, it was from everyone else's point of view. He suddenly could see the impact he'd had on everyone around him in one flash, in one moment, like that. And he thought he was doing quite well, he thought he was quite good, and they suddenly went, "Oh, I've really got work to do." And they said, "Well, you can come on, or you can go back to the body." He said, "No, I've got work to do, I better get on with it." I've got a lot of homework to do, a lot of house cleaning and a lot of karmic laundry to clean up. So he went back and he changed his life direction completely. And that experience of the near-death experience woke him up to the impact he was having on everyone else. These are very deep and important points. Yes, please.
One day, this is something I am going through. One of the things I noticed in myself is very quick-tempered, and very judgmental. And so when a person is that, when a character is like mine, and I don't agree, so there's a lot of friction. And the more I disagree, I notice the worse it is. Like the one you described, like you're trying to say about the food. So mine, I told myself, is like, well, what is the other way? Because if I get angry, I get into a confrontation, it becomes worse. And it has a more physical impact other than a mental impact. It impacted, I can feel it in the body. That means you feel exhausted, and your health takes a downturn. So I try to see how I address this. And I said, if I do I stop? Stop is like a false thing. That it doesn't address this character inside. So how to see in matters of confrontation, one of the learning point is actually right here in Bodhihat. Every time when dana is being done, and if you watch a kitchen scene, which you are not there, I stood and watched, and that is where I also found my temper flaring many times. And so the last few times I watched, how not to get upset with how people even do things in the kitchen. I mean, I don't do, most of them, the others, the ladies, they do it. So I watched and I noticed the conversation and things, just a simple thing of layout of food, and people will disagree. And watching that disagreement even annoys me and angers me. And I flat out quite a number of times at them, or who I think is the person causing the disruption. But that's not the thing. The thing is that something is inside the mind that's causing this. And I tried, one of the ways is like, you forcibly really keep quiet. But there is that kind of like forced restraint. It's not really learning. It's not seeing it as it is. So to watch the mind as it observe that situation over and over again each time when I'm here, it's quite a challenge and a real learning. And I do not believe I've got it yet, or I've understood it, understand what it is like to be able to just see it as it is. I mean, it's not taking side, I'm really seeing it, watching the scene and not see it as like annoyance, but it's just things happening. It's very, and that itself is quite a learning really as it is. I'm learning myself. I find that, it's right. That's why I avoid coming down to the kitchen until it's ready and it's over. Because if I watch the scene of people preparing the food and the conversation there, I notice my mind gets sucked into it. And I ask myself, what do you, only now, lately, nobody sucks into it, but why does my mind get sucked into it? Once it gets sucked into it, you get, of course, very turmoil. It gets angry. One of the first things noticeable is anger. And then things will start going like it's like snowballing down. It's like snowball going down. It's just how? Why does it has to be a snowball? Why does it has to snowball? Isn't there another way to not like a slope, but it's just learning? So that for me is lately I've observed in my space, trying to address this even in my own self. Because anger brings out a lot of things in me.
It sounds like you're applying the Dharma correctly all the way through. And it's the beginning of a process. So learning doesn't happen for quite a long time, and it takes a long while. So firstly, you said you're avoiding the situation.
Yeah, that's avoiding. Really. It's not.
No, wait. So like somebody who is avoiding going to a bar for drinking, they're avoiding. So it's good. Avoiding is not a bad thing. If you already noticed, so you've used awareness straight away, like I'm getting sucked into this criticizing. The anger has been arising. It's dependent on watching the scene. If I wasn't watching the scene, I wouldn't be getting angry. I'll remove myself from place without, judging and joining in and feeding it more myself. So those are all correct. So those actions all have Pali names, which are all the advice of the Buddha up until that point. And then you notice that you've got the snowball and the turbulence, happening inside, and then that's where you start working with that in meditation to realize, that all those steps. So the mindfulness, and James was asking about anger. This is precisely what so there can be. You can be also correct. There can be some, sort of, people doing wrong things, and like what I was saying with the headlights, where they're inconsiderately blinding everyone else dangerously. it's actually correct for me to feel anger because there's a boundary, there's a kind of law being transgressed there of social interaction. So those are happening all the time. And this is why it's also not good to see anger as a kind of evil and dismissive and wrong or something. It has a function, and it usually is that there's some kind of transgression or boundary overstepping. And it can be that, it could be in an ideal world that going in and saying something like, why don't we put the forks over and the chopsticks over it and the plates this, because that's what we were doing before. But with the people and the situation, it might just not be right, and sometimes the better is just not, letting go of the situation and just walking away and just leaving it be, rather than having a big, putting more gasoline on the fire. So that is, and also realizing this is an external situation, and that's the cause, the external part of it, aramana. So saying, okay, this external, what's really important is my breathing in and out, and to keep the mindfulness up. Because the two things that will help you is equanimity rather than reactivity. And then withdrawing to be internal and saying, fine, it's their problem, not mine. I'll come back later when the offering's going. I don't have to get involved. So that part of it is developing the wisdom and the intention and the evaluation. What's really important here? My peace of mind, or the, getting involved in how to lay the table or whatever it is, that thing. So all of those steps, and that behaviour, like you were saying, it's okay here in Bodhihas, but what about outside? That behaviour and that scale of values, you can do that in the traffic. So that's not their problem, it's his problem, it's not, I don't have to, Hong Kong and judge, or at home, or in the shops, or in the mall, or wherever that's happening, in school, situations, or whatever, in family situations. It's like that different people have different learning and levels, and our main thing is to focus on what's important on my practice that's going to benefit everyone. And like with the teaching there was saying that is just being easy to be around for me, and that might be, I'll just keep some distance and let them sort it out. I won't be helping by going in and adding another voice, and everyone's voice is raising and everybody trying to control. Too many chefs spoil the soup kind of analogy. And then the snowball is a useful thing. The snowball and the turbulence is something that you can watch, and you can learn to calm it down. So if we didn't have any provocations or challenges, we wouldn't learn those skills. If we lived in a perfect, tranquil, tranquil world, we wouldn't be able to calm down. Okay. I'm really angry you're pointing the clock. No, I was in the middle of something. No, I'm just joking. Thank you everyone for attending. I really appreciate being able to share. And thank you. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Mm-hmm.